We will call the August 16, 2022 Sherburne County Board of Commissioners County Board meeting to order, and we will begin with a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would anyone like to approve the agenda?
Are there any changes?
Are there any changes? No.
Move the agenda.
Motion's been made to approve the agenda. Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Now we can move on to the consent agenda.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Motion's been made to move this consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Okay, now we'll move on to announcements.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. If the board will indulge me for a second, I do want to start with an announcement. And I think, Terry, I saw you, there you are. Thank you. I've spoken with Ms. Dickinson, and I wanted to express to her publicly today what I expressed to her last week, which is I want to offer an apology for how Terry was treated at the last county board meeting on August 2nd. I reviewed the meeting, as I think several of us have, and I believe I was wrong in calling Terry out of order and also asking that she be removed from the meeting. Upon reflection, it is my opinion that Ms. Dickinson's comments and actions did not rise to the level of disruptive behavior that would have warranted the response that she received. I missed the bar on that as I was kind of serving as a parliamentarian, and I am sorry for that. I plan on recommending that the county board handle public comment differently from here on, that we focus on the time limit and on affording equal opportunity for everyone to speak, which is set by the county board's open forum policy. I will also be asking for the county board's permission to begin a staff review of our current policies and procedures, and also to seek other educational and training opportunities that will help us better reflect the spirit of being welcoming and of valuing public comment, even when we may not agree with what is said. I would also like to apologize to the County Board of Commissioners, as well as to our public safety personnel for placing all of you in such an awkward position at the last board meeting due to the decisions and the actions that I took. As a public servant, beholden to the citizens and the elected officials of Sherburne County, I should have done better. I want to thank you for allowing me to serve and also for helping to hold me accountable for my actions. With that, I'll add a few other comments. First of all, for the board's calendar, just a reminder that the AMC Fall Policy Conference is coming up on the 14th through the 16th of September in Arrowwood. If you need any arrangements, please talk to Keisha and I. We'll make sure that you get a room and get scheduled for the activities. I don't know how many staff will be attending, but at this point I am planning on attending to be with you up there. Also, just a note, and I think you received a copy, but I'll send it as well after the meeting. A lot of local government agencies, including AMC and Micit, sent a joint letter earlier this week to the leaders of the legislative and executive branch of the state legislature requesting consideration of a special session. So if you haven't received that, I'll make sure you see a copy of what several agencies did, including the Township Association, League of Minnesota Cities, AMC, and the like. Just a note on the budget, given our budget workshops from last meeting, just a note on the 6th of September, we'll be discussing the Regional Rail Authority budget, and then the 20th of September is when we plan to bring back the proposed levy and annual budget for 2023. And then finally, just a note, and if you're interested, I'll send you the full survey, but we received an interesting 10-state survey from Ballast Research, And I thought I'd just highlight it for you. These are things that across the states are seen now as the most interesting or most pressing public policy issues. And these are the top 5, which may help us frame a little bit of our thoughts going forward for our legislative agenda. Number 1 was education and training, which was interesting, and that crossed party lines, which was nice, so there was a lot of consensus that that's a priority. Similarly, broadband, about half of those surveyed thought broadband remains a very significant issue. Third was sustainability, and not just looking at it in terms of the environment, but also economic sustainability, family sustainability, a larger definition of that. And then rounding out the top 5 were transportation and infrastructure investment and continuation of public health. 2 notes I thought, now that we're seeing COVID somewhat in the rearview mirror, 76% of those folks surveyed across all political ideologies believed that the vaccine distribution was an effective approach, which was nice to see that even behind some of the disagreements, there's agreement. Similarly, 60% of respondents thought that the business's response to the COVID-19 epidemic was effective. So it was good to see some unity in that survey, and I just wanted to share with you those results.
Well, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd just like to follow up briefly on Bruce's comments. I've been on this board for 20 years, and things have changed, and we don't always get it right. And I think that Bruce has apologized to the board, but I think the board owes the public an apology. We got it wrong last meeting. We absolutely got it wrong. We have to accept responsibility for that, and I think it needs to be noted. You need to know that. I believe that. I'm sure my counterparts believe it as well. So, thank you.
Yes, and to add to that, Commissioner Schmieling's comments to the general public, when you guys comment or come in here and spend your time with us, just realize we'll make mistakes. And kind of the kicker of being up here and in this position is realizing when you get stuff a little bit wrong and trying to find a way to fix it. So just try your best to give us a little time to learn as things change and shift, and we'll do our best.
Yes, and to add to the comments too, we need to hear from everybody. We need to hear the voices of our people and who we represent, so.
Did you want to say anything?
I concur with all the comments from the board. I gathered Friday night with about 10 other commissioners from across the state, and we discussed in robust, earnest fashion public comment parts of board meetings, and a couple of them don't have it, so I found that interesting. So it was interesting to talk to them, and I appreciate that we in Sherburne County do offer that option for our citizens, and hope to review our policy so we make sure that we are addressing and handling it appropriately. But I found the conversation Friday night very interesting. All across the state, it's done differently in every county, and but we do appreciate public comment here, and I agree with the apologies from our board and our administrator.
Okay, and I would want to just concur with that, so thank you very much. Okay, so should we go on to open forum? We'd like to read the criteria first. Do we do that again?
The purpose of the open forum section of the county board meeting is to allow public input and/or information to be presented to the board that does not require action by the board. It is requested that speakers refrain from personal attacks of any kind against another person, commissioner, or employee. It is requested that speakers refrain from campaign-type presentations. The time limit is 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 5 speakers per open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. Discussions that require additional time beyond the original 15 minutes will be recessed and continued following the conclusion of the regular board meeting agenda items. It is requested that all input or information be addressed to the County Board of Commissioners and not to members of the audience. Speaker handouts are public information. The county may make copies of such handouts for the public if needed, and the county board chair will ensure that the open forum policy is followed.
Okay, and who do we have signed up? Keisha?
Madam Chair, we have 6 people signed up for today's open forum, and the first one is Gary Tonsager of Elk River, speaking on election integrity.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gary Tonsager. I'm from Elk River, Minnesota. And the last time I was here, I talked about how the county spent over $500,000 on a brand-new election system that, according to Microsoft, will be obsolete in October of 2023. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Today, do you remember when election night was election night? Now it takes days to count the votes. Why? Connect Incorporated is the creator of Poll Chief software used by thousands of elections offices across North America. Connect Incorporated, an American election technology company founded in 2022 just outside of Lansing, Michigan, previously built the Chinese Brief.com, a unique interactive communication platform and Chinese language learning tool for the Confucius Institute, according to the company's Facebook page and archived Michigan State University's Confucius Institute webpage. According to Connect's website, the company's Poll Chief software products, which include the election worker management system, asset management system, and help desk, are used by thousands of election offices across America. Connect software helps manage poll workers, poll locations, campaign assets, mail-in ballots, and supplies necessary to run elections in the United States, Canada, and Australia. In May 19th of 2020, an article published in Queensland, Australia, explained that the Queensland's Department of Housing and Public Works conceded that it had been a difficult few years after failure of election reporting systems, starting with the former commissioner's decision to acquire Connect Systems. The Queensland Digital News Company stated count reporting problems on election night were partly the result of a new computer system not being used or tested and planned because of coding resources were locked down in Wuhan, China. According to his LinkedIn page, Eugene Yu is the CEO of Connect Incorporated. He graduated from Jixing University in Jixing, China, with a bachelor degree in 1992 from Wake Forest University and MBA in 1998. He is the native Chinese and English speaker. In October of 2018, an article was written in Western Australia entitled "Hacking Our New Software System at the Queensland Election Commission." It says, Yu has acknowledged that he uses software developers in China for his elections. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Terry Dickinson speaking on Haven Township.
Last night I presented my complaint on the election laws that I believe Haven Township violated on primary day. July 18th, Haven Township Board passed a motion to hand tabulate the races as well as use Dominion voting machines so they could compare the number of votes each candidate received between the two methods to see if the results were equal. The head election judge, who had been hand tabulating the individual races since the 1970s, agreed to the board's directive. We all want to make sure Haven Township is accurate on all counts. On primary day, I arrived at Town Hall to observe the hand tabulating process, but the doors were locked. 206.86 Subdivision 3, open to the public under the direction of the official in charge of elections in each municipality where an electronic voting system is used. Subdivision 4, automatic tabulation equipment, the results available to the public. 204C.19 Subdivision 1, hours for voting have ended and all voting has concluded, shall immediately count the votes cast at the election at the polling place and shall be public. However, I witnessed no hand tabulating of the races, which violated the decisions of the board. The Election Judge Guide of 2022 explains hand count on pages 49 through 52. Since it is in the current election guide, it must be an option. In addition, the head election judge denied me my right to view the unofficial race totals. Minnesota state statute clearly defines townships' authority to either use or refuse the electronic voting systems, and the use of the machines was conditional on hand counting the votes in each race For comparison, 20658 Subdivision 1 municipalities, the governing body of a municipality at the regular meeting or a special meeting called for the purpose may provide for the use of an electronic voting system. Subdivision 3, the governing body of the municipality shall give approval before an electronic voting system may be used in the municipality under the authority of this section. However, upon completion of my statement, the chairwoman explained, and the head election judge later confirmed that the county auditor and the county attorney had contacted the township attorney, the chair of the township board, and the head election judge. In a conference call and maybe an email, the county forbade the township from exercising its statutory authority. In my opinion, this heavy-handed meddling and seemingly willful and continuous violation of civil rights and the state statutes must be investigated by the sheriff who defends our liberties. Civil right, the individual rights of a personal liberty guaranteed by the Bill of Rights and by the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 19th Amendments, as well as by the legislation such as the Voting Rights Act. Civil rights include especially the right to vote, the right of due process, and the right of equal protection under the law. Again, I formally request that the Dominion system is no longer to be used and that all 2020 election evidence be sequestered, not destroyed on September 3rd, so we can audit the ballots. I want to publicly accept the apology, especially of Bruce Messelt and the county commissioners. I accept your apology and I forgive you. And please stand with the citizens who fill this room time and time again. Please stop using those Dominion machines.
Thank you. Who's next?
Next, we have Tracy Soden speaking on insurance. She's from Big Lake.
July 12th, 2022, County Board meeting, public comment by Rick Weibel, warning commissioners may be about to commit a potential criminal act regarding voting systems, software, hardware certification, and lack of 60-day public notice of new system. July 18th, 2022, Karen Ebert of MCIT Minnesota Counties Intergovernmental Trust, Insurance for 81 Counties, Felix Schmesching, Chair, current term expires December 2023, provided a copy of Sherburne County's bond form. Coverage, document Article 4, Employee Dishonesty and Faithful Performance of Duty Coverage Bond. See exclusion. This coverage does not apply to two dishonest or criminal acts. Loss caused by dishonest or criminal acts carried out by you or your partners, either alone or in collusion with other persons. Number one, loss discovery occurs when you first become aware of facts which would cause a reasonable person to assume that a loss covered by the coverage document has been or will be incurred, even though the exact amount or details of loss may not be known. Number 16, legal action against MCIT. The MCIT Board of Directors has sole authority for resolving disputes regarding coverage under the coverage document. Decisions of the MCIT Board which determine coverage or based upon, caused by, or arise out of coverage or a coverage determination are final and binding on the member and the MCIT Board. Resource Library bond coverage asked questions. Minnesota Bondage Statute. The Minnesota Bonding Statute, Section 382.10 requires that official bonds of county officers be filed and recorded in the office of the county recorder. County officials are generally considered the county auditor, treasurer, and deputy treasurer, recorder, sheriff, attorney, coroner, and social service directors. County commissioners are not subject to bonding requirements. The county recorder, per Minnesota statute, section 386.01, should file his or her bond with the court administrator of the district court. Officers are responsible for filing the bond with the appropriate party. Legal defense coverage, bond coverage, frequently asked questions, printed from MCIT website, webpage. Municipalities required to defend indemnity employees included elected officials. Denying employees defense, indemnification requires strategic steps. a municipality's consideration of a request for defense and indemnification from an officer, including an elected official.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Next, we have Kari Watkins of Haven Township speaking on First Amendment and Haven Township.
First, this is the oath of office you took when you were sworn in as commissioners. I, insert your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of Sherburne County Commissioner to the best of my knowledge and ability. So help me God. On Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, during the County Commissioners meeting, Terry Dickinson was asserting her First Amendment right, liberty, of petitioning the government for a redress of grievances. Instead of listening to her and responding to her as her elected officials, you called on the county administrator, Bruce Mcit, to interrupt her, silence her, and stood by as the sheriff deputy was ordered to remove her. You failed your oath and failed it miserably. Now, while you've apologized to the public, you owe a personal apology to Terry Dickinson by name. And you should give her the opportunity to redress her grievances and meet with us, the people you represent, to hear and discuss our deep concerns about the security of our elections. Second, at the July 19th, 2022 Haven Township meeting, the supervisors made a motion and passed it to hand and machine tabulate the ballots. On election night, it was clear they were not doing this. We found out the county attorney had contacted the township attorney, and the township attorney counted the township chair along with the county auditor to put a stop to the hand count. When we asked the county attorney about this, she said we needed to talk to the township attorney. When the township's attorney's statement was read at the Haven Township meeting last night, he said we needed to talk to the county auditor and the Secretary of State. Besides violating state statute 20658, this was the perfect time to prove we are wrong and the machines work perfectly. Only 369 voters in Haven Township during the primary. Why not let us hand tabulate those votes? Is there something to hide?
Next, we have Eric Van Mecklin of Minneapolis speaking on the 219,000 votes to remove Dominion.
369 was the number, right? 369 voters. It's an interesting number because in the Republican primary race for Secretary of State on August 9th last week, there was 36.9%. There's that number again of Republican primary voters which voted for a candidate that wants to remove the machines. But you may not be aware that there were also, so that was 111,000 voters, by the way. There was also 108,000 Democrat voters in the primary who were challenging Secretary of State Steve Simon, who voted for Steve W. Carlson, who also has on his platform to remove the Dominion machines. So if you add that up, that's 219 Minnesota primary voters from both major parties who are in favor of candidates who have made very explicit and public their concern about the Dominion machines and other machines as well. So that actually adds up to 31.5% of all voters that voted for a Secretary of State candidate. I only see that number going to be rising very soon. I've previously talked about the documentary Selection Code, which is going to showcase what was found in Mesa County, Colorado, where there was database manipulation proven 100%. You can read the report, actually share the report with you last time here. So with that, I want to echo what was shared. Talk is really cheap at the end of the day. A public apology is fine and well, but it should never have happened to begin with.
Right.
So with that, I have to look at the sequence of behavior and inaction that I've noticed. And when I look at the arbitrary nature of the personal attack rule and the rule that says no action may be taken when we have a public comment, And I see, besides one meeting which happened, I believe, back in April, May, according to Bruce, I see very little engagement with the mountains of evidence that have been shared with you. That leads me to think that this public apology is coming way too late for something that should never have happened. And I look forward to you actually wanting to engage with the public. And I've just shared with you 219,000 people. This is not a poll. This was a vote. 219,000 Minnesotans voted to remove the machines on August 9th. And there's much, much more coming. So I urge you to consider working with the people, working with your constituents, and actually looking into these enslavement devices, which are the electronic voting machines we currently use in this country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is Dean Ditterman of Elk River, speaking on tax discussion.
I don't want to take away from that, but there is other problems. So, good morning. From the August 2nd Commissioner Meeting Workshop discussion. First off, let's remember that at a meeting before August 2nd, the county managers did not ask for a raise in their new budgets. On the August 2nd discussion, state aid was said to be cut by $500,000. Growth in property tax proposed, $4.2 million increase in the levy, a 25% increase in taxes. The Public Works proposed the largest budget program in history while working on a secret park project. They are claiming the parks are said to raise property values, yes, so we can pay more taxes. They bragged about the biggest growth in property taxes, and they wanted us to understand that the new sales tax was not to cut the levy. I thought it was when I voted for it. So the new sales tax to me was a fail. They bragged that the last 3 years got us where we are today. Yeah, big mess. The county seems to be in trouble. They can't afford to maintain the parks we already have, and they have big plans for buying more parkland when we can't afford without raising taxes. I know this is true because the county managers did not ask for a raise in their budget currently, so where is the need for the new tax money? We need to lower taxes, not raise them in this climate. Thank you.
That is all the speakers, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Now we can move on to our regular agenda. And 5.1, consider the approval and consider and approve an interim use permit for home business and accessory building automotive work with Jason Brott. And we have Lynn here. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning, Lynn.
And so this is the Brott property. This is a accessory building where they want to do automotive work. This is in Haven Township on 12 acres in the agricultural zoning district. Planning Commission recommended approval of the interim use permit for a home business and an accessory building with the 10 conditions and the findings of fact.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval
Motion's
with
been
the 10 conditions.
with the 10. Okay, motion's been made to approve the request with the 10 conditions. Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Okay, go ahead with
Okay.
number 2.
Next one is Grant Berquist. He's requesting an interim use permit for a business selling vehicles, boats, and farm implements. This is in Livonia Township on .55 acres in the commercial zoning district. Planning Commission recommended approval of the interim use permit with the 14 conditions and the findings of fact.
I'll move approval with the 14 conditions and the findings of fact.
Okay, motion's been made.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Now, number 3.
And the last item is Robert Kissel. This is owned by Robert and Betty Kissel. They're requesting a conditional use permit for a personal storage structure. This is in Palmer Township on 1.5 acres in the agricultural district and within the shoreline overlay district of Lake Julia. Planning Commission recommended approval of the conditional use permit with the 5 conditions and the findings of fact.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval with the
Motion.
5 conditions
And-
and findings of fact.
Okay. So motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you.
Now we can
Excellent.
move on to 5.4, which is to review and approve the Lupinen Brewery Score Grant Request, and we have Dave Lucas with us for that. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. So in front of you is a request for SCORE dollars to support a proposed waste reuse program. As you know, our solid waste management plan that we recently amended and submitted to the state pushes a lot of initiatives to increase waste reuse programs. This application meets those requirements and went through our advisory committee, and the committee is recommending approval of this funding request. So, do you have any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I am going to be in opposition to this. I've spoken with Tim about it because of open meeting. I've not spoken with any of you other members. I do have copies of the application or what the committee reviewed. Can I share them with the board members? Well, I can just pass them down. Now, when I reviewed this and I looked at it, I saw that there was a really good business purpose for them to make this decision. I did go and visit with the folks at Lupine. They were very gracious, showed me around, and I appreciate them. I just don't think that this meets the standard of what we want to be doing with our funds. I know that we have funds that we want to get out on the street. I just don't think this is a project to do it with. I think there's other, we have other breweries, the standard that we are doing here in the buying a trailer and it going to, it was set up to go to some specific egg guys. I don't know that it's been shopped around enough to find out if somebody might come and pick up the whole thing. So I'm going to be opposed to this.
Madam Chair.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I'll just say that I understand where Commissioner Schmeezing is at on his view on this, taking a look at from an overall business perspective. I think one of the key things for us to take a look at is this program in general and the fact that while we would be allocating these funds to one brewery within the county, that from my conversations with that brewery, that would make that asset available to any brewery and any farm within the county. So while it sits under Lupinen Brewing as a grant and a product to use, and any number, I mean, how many breweries do we have now? We keep popping 1 or 2 up a year. So I think there's added benefits to other people without having to have them come in for a grant every time and us having trailers all over the place at different breweries and different farms. Allocating it to one brewery that's going to let everybody use it would be beneficial.
So, so you're proposing that any brewery would come and get this trailer and use it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, as far as I've understood, that would be fine with the plan. So I think there's probably some little stuff with insurance and making sure that those agreements work when people borrow them. But I don't think there'd be any hurdles to get over there.
And then it would be available to any farmer?
Yep. As long as it's not being utilized by someone else at the time and everybody can get their calendars together, I think it would be largely beneficial over time. And I think the brewery owner is here as well, if they want to talk about that at all.
And who would manage this? Dave, would you be managing this? County?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, we could write that into the grant agreement and work with the attorney's office on the logistics on that to see how logistically that can work.
Yeah, I would agree with Dave on that. I think it's largely us writing it into the agreement that they're willing to do that. And then it's gonna be up to them and the additional people figuring it out and reporting back to us as it goes would make the most sense to me.
It would take some wordsmithing, but,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, would you wordsmith it and then bring it back to the board then? Is that?
The board would need to approve that grant agreement, and if that's the wishes of the board, we could work on some agreement and bring that back to the board, yes.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I think that we need to be working hard to keep as much stuff out of our local landfills as possible, and looking at some of the letters of support that are coming from some farms in the area as well in support of this, and the fact that there would be opportunity for other entities to use this trailer, whether it be other breweries or other farmers. I think that we need to be proactive and work on providing these opportunities to better manage.
If you read the letters, some of the farmers don't have equipment to handle the totes that they are using. So would we buy them a Bobcat to do that? I mean, I think that's the thing we stumble on here is we go, where are we going to stop? And basically, we are keeping, if you see in the picture, these totes out of the landfill. They're a recycled item already. I think they're a poor way to do it. I think it would be cheaper for them to follow this plan and just do it, is what I think. So, but that's.
Madam Chair, I guess it would be my hope to go with Mr. Lucas's suggestion. Wordsmithing on the agreement would be important, and I think that's important on what we're looking at here. And I can also think back historically where there were applications that were recycling plants or bigger places that, you know, the wordsmithing of the agreement and how it opens up to other people within the county and other businesses or similar businesses, I think is an important thing that we take a look at in those agreements. It's not something we've necessarily addressed in the past, but I think it's probably got pretty strong legs for the future, and it lets us get this money on the street and hopefully having our businesses cooperate in utilizing things that these funds acquire or provide.
So how would we go forward, Dave? Should we make any action today, or have you come back with some wordsmith thing done on the language and the?
An option, Madam Chair, is to table this and instruct staff to prepare a draft SCORE grant funding agreement to bring back to the board for consideration.
Madam Chair, that would be my recommendation. I think there's value in that. I would be willing to table this until then.
So to table it, we need a vote, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if there's a motion to table and seconded,
I'll
then
second it.
So prior to that, please, who on this board sits on solid waste, determining SCORE grants?
I'm on the advisory.
So you've had input and you reviewed this prior, and there was a recommendation from that group that this move forward?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Anyone opposed to it on the advisory? Or any?
Not that I recall.
Just curious.
Was there, Dave?
There was
Was there
one.
both?
I don't
Was there
know if
one?
you,
Yeah.
I don't know if you were at that meeting, but I
Dave,
know
was there
one
anybody
in
opposed?
One in opposition.
Yes, there was one in opposition.
Okay.
I'll second the motion to table.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to table this request. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion is passed. So we'll see you back.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I please let known who made the first motion? Was it,
I did.
you did? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. With your recommendation then, Board, Madam Chair, the staff will work on that agreement and we'll work with admin to get this back on
The agenda.
following.
Thanks for your
Board
work
meeting.
on that,
Yeah,
Dave.
thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. So we have, we can move ahead now to 5.5 with Dan Weber. Talking to consider and approve the American Rescue Plan update and recommend approvals and expenditures.
Look at this audience shift, Dan. Good job.
What did you do, Dan?
Good morning, Commissioners. Today I'm here seeking approval of the 2 biweekly expenses under the $50,000 threshold for a total of $69,500. And the descriptions were included in your packet.
Do we need a motion for each individual or?
Not for these, for the over 50,000 we do.
Okay.
Excuse me, I can't hear. Did you ask if she needs a separate motion for each one and two? And you said,
The under 50,000, we do not need separate motions for. Any projects over 50,000, we do need separate motions for. So
Okay.
these two would only need one motion.
okay. So when you say these two, you say there's one here for under 50 and one here for over, so we're just,
Right, there's 2 on the under 50 list that was in your packet.
yeah.
Project
Okay,
131,
so we're voting on
133.
number 1 now,
Yep.
which is the bi-weekly
Correct.
expenditure. Okay,
Madam Chair, I'd move approval of the biweekly expenditures.
a motion's been made to accept the bi-weekly expenditures. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Okay, now we can move on to item number 2, which is expenses over 50,000. And we have a request for a sheriff's squad car build-outs.
Correct, and that's over 115,000, so I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Merrick to give a little more detail about that project.
Hello.
Good morning. We are requesting funding for squad car equipment for 6 new squad cars. We have been transitioning from Ford squad cars to Chevy squad cars, therefore we need to purchase new equipment for each squad. And the total cost is $115,389.18.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Okay, motion's been made to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I did have one question just for clarification. Could you let us know, there's a reason why we're moving from Ford to other squad cars?
Yes, so when Ford changed their body style, the price went up. So we decided to go with Chevy Tahoes.
Okay, just wanted that clarification as to why we're making that switch. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Let's just hope we get more timely results than some of the public works vehicle requests.
Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Tahoe's a little bigger, more room in the back seat.
So now we're going to transition to broadband. Keisha, if you could bring up the map. Midco has applied for several grants under our broadband access program, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago. The first project we're going to talk about is Livonia, and that's circled there on the east side of the map. Originally, we had approved a grant for $36,500. There was discussion about a month ago to allow the township to reduce their contribution to $5,000 to match the next 2 projects we're going to talk about. So that would increase the county's award to $68,000, and we would need approval to change that grant amount from $36,500 to $68,000.
Dan, quick question for you, and this is my error in not reading the map. Does this reach all the way to the 169 corridor, or does it stop short?
It stops a little short, but they're already doing some other improvements to that area, so this was the allowable unserved and underserved area that's circled there.
Okay, thank
But
you.
Midco is doing a lot of expansion throughout Livonia Township.
All right.
I'll move approval.
A motion's been made to approve. Is there a second?
I will second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
I also did reach out to the township that originally declined to participate, and in talking to a township supervisor, they still think they will decline at this time. So moving on to the next project is the Santiago Project, and this one is dependent on the Becker Project being approved. But Keisha, if you could bring up the scoring system for these two projects. There would be 72 passings. They're asking for a total project, or a total contribution of $281,000. The county would be $276,000 of that, and the township would contribute $5,000. So it did score a little lower, 47 out of 100, but it still meets the other parameters of the program. So we'd be looking for a motion on whether to approve the Santiago grant.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion been made to approve this request. Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Is there any discussion?
I'll just say, I think discussion regarding this was pretty robust with San Diego. I think everybody's understanding what we're trying to do, and they're lumping it in with some neighbors and trying to figure this all out, and conversation was good.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion passed.
And moving on to the Becker Project, this one would be a county contribution of $252,000. Township would contribute $5,000 in this one as well. And it did score 42 out of 100 because of the lower passing numbers. This one would only reach 42 people, but it does allow for additional homes to be served because of that ripple effect. Once you put infrastructure here, it grows to areas beyond that. And so the total, as I said, we'd be looking for a grant of $252,000 for this project.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion's been made to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I'll just say, as we go, and I know Dan's keeping an eye on this, but, when we look at these charts and we have the additional homes and passes looked at, we got to remember a lot of this space where we're putting this is pretty rural. It's not super dense, but as new developments get popped in and lots start to get filled up, those additional home numbers are going to go up pretty substantially over the next decade. So it's a little spendy up front, and it's a big commitment from us, but in looking at development and how it kind of ripples through our county, I think it's a wise decision.
Madam Chair, if I can just echo that, broadband has been a big priority for us. We have an opportunity now to do something with it, and I think something that I didn't think of as we started this is happening now. We are getting to the point to where, as they're going to these unserved areas, they're going by served areas that are served by other providers. And guess what happens then? You've generated some competition.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, the getting in is pretty pricey, but I think the benefits over time will be significant, because not only will they have an option to have broadband, they'll have multiple options, and there will be competition generated.
Great point, Commissioner.
Yeah. It's like putting a puzzle together. The pieces come together eventually.
Yeah. I'm just so glad we have the opportunity to consider this. Yeah, so. Okay, any other further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
I just want to summarize the program a little bit. 1.5 million was allocated to the program, and with the approvals today, we're at $1,499,913. So we almost hit that number to the dollar, and that wasn't planned or moved in any way. It just worked out that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks to my colleagues on the board. That's impressive to get that money out the door that close. Good job.
Okay, now we'll go on to item number 6, which is Commissioner correspondence. Who would like to start?
Madam Chair, I'll give a quick note that mine will be provided in writing. I'm not awesome with my calendar and reading it at these meetings anymore, so.
Okay,
I can go next, Madam Chair.
yes.
Of course, August 2nd and 3rd had our budget workshops kick off. Also on August 2nd, I attended 8 Night to Unite block party events. It was really great to get out there and talk to everybody and see neighborhoods coming together, getting to know each other. And there was some really, really great events. Two of mine had actual live music. So that was pretty cool. Also then attended August 4th, the Rivers of Hope event. August 10th, the Grams Park Nature Play Open House event. And there was quite a few people that came out to walk through that and give their comments on what it is they'd like to see developed there. And August 11th, attended the Chamber Ambassador meeting. Also had a meeting with Gina Hugo on a property site that the owner wanted me to share with what it was that was done through the improvements that were made in regards to minimizing or taking out Chinese elm and buckthorn. So, and Gina was very, very informative as to the different things that she's seen that were positive with that. Also had an APO meeting in St. Cloud that day, August 13th. Attended a Big Eagle Lake Association event. And August 15th, I got to go up yesterday to St. Cloud to attend the Minnesota Connected and Automated tour. And it was pretty cool to see those cars and how they're doing a tour from, they started out in the metro, coming up to St. Cloud, and then they were going to continue up 23 to Duluth and then circle back down. So it's really amazing what they're looking at doing and the amount of information that they're gathering. It's a long ways off, but it is something that is being looked at, and there will be infrastructure needs in the future to accommodate that. So we'll have to see. The car companies are already, they're off and running with it, so. And other than quite a few, also attended the Food Shelf Produce Drop event, and then attended to a good number of constituent contacts. That was my day, my month.
Was getting rid of the buckthorn and goat party?
No, they didn't. He didn't use goats on that one, but the seeing the goats out at Grams Park was very, very neat to see.
Okay, I can go if you want.
Okay,
2nd and 3rd budget workshop. Monday, the 8th, we had a Parks Committee meeting. The 10th, I had MICA Executive Committee and then a regular MICA board meeting. And thank you, Tim, for covering me at the canvassing meeting. I had MCIT board meetings, and that's all.
Thanks for covering us at MCIT.
I guess. I had the budget workshops that we all were at. I participated in a couple Night to Unite gatherings on the hottest Night to Unite that I can remember. The canvassing board meeting, I had a futures planning meeting, and as I mentioned earlier, was at dinner with my national leadership cohort celebrating our graduation on Friday night, so. And thanks again for your support in that, and I'd encourage anyone to do it who gets the opportunity.
And congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you.
okay. I had the budget workshops on the 2nd and 3rd. I went to the First Steps Joint Powers meeting on the 4th. And American Legion has their usual discussion with Mayor Dietz from Elk River and myself at the Legion on Saturday, the 6th. And on the 8th, I was at the Quad Crops Search Committee meeting to look at people who had applied and make decisions about who we'd interview. And then on the 12th, we interviewed people for small farms and local produce for the Ag Ed candidates. And that was an all-day event. And then we have today's meeting, so that's it. Okay. So now we can move forward to open our ditch authority meeting. And Diane, are you, or? Okay. So first we have to approve the ditch authority agenda.
Madam Chair, so moved.
Motion's been made. Is there, to approve the agenda, is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, motion's passed. So then we can move on to item number 2, which is to receive and accept the ditch drainage technician's report. Hi, Mike. We've been looking forward to these.
Yeah, we missed your pictures last time.
Yes, we did.
Andrew doesn't nearly do a ditch authority meeting justice.
Don't encourage him.
But you said it's been a slow few months because we need more rain.
Yes, it has been. Good morning, everybody. Any questions regarding my written report?
None for me.
Not a whole lot in there, but it's pretty slow,
It's a tight one.
which is a good thing. Okay,
I don't, so we can.
Madam Chair, I can move
Yes.
approval of the report.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the ditch technician's report. All those, any further discussion? I guess I didn't have to ask that. Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Thank you. Motion's passed. So now we can move on to approve and authorize.
He had some pictures he wants to still
Just
share.
See the pictures first, okay.
okay. County Ditch 10. This is the area where the tile line was plugged with tree roots from Chinese elm. As we know, they're a huge problem tree. They grow like weeds, and the root systems can go as deep as, I've heard, 35 feet, which is amazing.
Oh, man.
They can virtually grow on anything. They'll grow on a gravel pile. They'll grow anywhere. They don't need much water to survive, so that's why they make it anywhere. They plant roots. The areas in red up here are the areas that we cleared some and have more to clear of the Chinese elm and a couple willow trees that were growing right next to one of those orange risers that we install that take in the surface water. Their root systems are a problem too, and they would plug up that tile line pretty easily.
Mike, I have a question. Is that something that someone would plant, or is that just something that comes by the tree reproducing itself?
Nobody plants them, they just
They
come
just
up.
grow.
I think the birds spread them,
They stay, okay. I just double
From-
checking.
but
I know some people do plant willows, but just curious if this would be that.
yeah, the willow tree, yeah, that was not planted.
Okay.
That was natural. This is the backyard that flooded. You can see it's all the way up into the mowed grass. When this happens, his drain field is not very far away. and it gets saturated, the ground gets saturated from all the water, and then he has issues with his, with the backing up into his house, so it's a big problem. This is the machine, a jetter machine that we use to open up the tile line. Very expensive machine. So you can see the end of the hose there. This is the jet head that we use to insert into the tile line and run it upstream. It's 3,000, up to 3,000 PSI. Very, very powerful. You can see on the end, there's a protective sleeve. The 3,000 PSI hose is very, very expensive. So it's there to protect the hose. This is the manhole that we put it in, that's in the ditch to access the tile line. This picture was actually taken when we constructed the manhole with the County Road 35 road project. So the sleeve goes against the pipe. So when it's feeding the hose in there, it doesn't get cut from the pipe. After about 2 hours of going up, we went as far as about 620 feet. And we hit the obstruction at about 580 feet is where the root mass was, the blockage. So after about 2 hours working it back and forth and a couple thousand gallons of water, we finally penetrated the root mass and opened it up. And you can see how the water just gushes out of there once it opens up, flushes it out. From the water being stagnant in there and sitting in that tile line and in the swamp for so long, you can see it's pretty dirty, it's pretty rusty. So after about an hour, the water cleared up and was actually really clear after about an hour. This is just one of the many root balls that came out of that pipe. You can see how it's just like a mat. It's like a big mop. That's how they, it just plugs it up. It's amazing how it can just stop that with all that pressure. But they'll continue to grow if you don't take care of it.
Thanks for teaching those trees what not to mess with anymore.
Yeah. So this is one of the biggest problems we have with tile lines around the county is the vegetation and the tree roots. Not only do they plug up the tile line, but they'll also, the old brittle clay and concrete tile, they'll actually blow it right apart when they continue to grow. County Ditch 30. This is the area where we were proposing to clean this fall. I've received all the permits and necessary permissions to complete this project. After the crops are out of the field, county forces will be going in there and removing some trees and brush. And then I'll be soliciting some contractors to get this cleaned out late fall, early winter. And up on the very west end of there is the culvert under County Road 11, where there was beaver dams in the pipe. Had it plugged up pretty good and trapped a couple beaver out of there, and county forces used their mini hoe and opened up that pipe, cleaned it out. So that's all I have. Any more questions, comments, or concerns that you may have?
I'm sure, I just have a quick question. Up in Haven Township, where we brought that floating hole in to clean that ditch, has anybody looked at that? How did we accomplish anything there, or how did that turn out? Just curious.
Turned out good. There's very little water coming out of there now.
Okay.
I think the next time, when the time comes, we should be able to go in there with a regular backhoe.
So it's
with pads, yep.
Well, we take a win when we get them, so that
Yep.
one worked out. Thank you.
Yep. And Haven Township is in the process of replacing that culvert under 40th Street.
Sure. Okay.
They've solicited bids, and I'm anticipating construction here this fall. I know their concrete pipe, especially 36 inches and bigger, you're looking at 2-3 months to even get it. The demand is high and supply is short.
Well, they'll have to go to the same ditch bottom that they are at now.
Correct.
And just, hopefully they make sure that sometimes they go with corrugated and that changes the flow dynamics and that sort of thing, so hopefully they make sure they maintain the flow there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they will.
Yeah, that was iterated to them very clearly that must happen, and they are going with concrete pipe.
Okay. Well, good. Sorry.
Oh, this is really interesting. Okay, is any other discussion? Should we move ahead then to motion to approve the and authorize billing of proposed 2022?
I'll make
county
that motion,
drainage?
Madam Chair.
Okay.
I'll second.
Is that?
Thank you.
Diane?
Yep.
Thank you very
Mike.
much.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. I handed out this morning a revised packet, so we actually had lowered our assessment for the ditch expense. Just wanted to let you know. So the expenses that were paid and stuff were on your right-hand column for the year, $53,688.88. And we are requesting to propose the assessments on the individual ditches. They are coming to a total of $53,207. Then I also included for you is the revised listing of those property owners with $100 or more on the ditches that will be assessed. Also, to give you a little bit of an update on our where we're standing with our 2022 county ditch advances from revenue for the past year's activity. So right now, we are showing a total balance that would be owing of $19,480.66, which is really low compared to what we've had in previous years and stuff. So we're doing a good job of keeping things maintained and then just having to do advances when we do and then our paybacks. So I just wanted to give an update on that.
Thanks, Diane.
Anyone have any questions about the assessments that we had handed out?
Can we just start sending our county roads bills to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife?
Well, U.S. Fish and Wildlife do get some of them. But yes, our county roads do as well, so.
So you have a motion and a second for that revised.
So we have a revised motion and a second, is that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Both of you for
Thanks, Diane.
your presentations. Okay, so now we get to set the next ditch authority meeting for October 16th, 2022. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve that?
That sounds great. I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Do we have a discussion on this? Anyway, seeing any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Okay, so now we will close our ditch authority agenda and we will recess for about 15 minutes. Is that? So we will be back at 10:25. Is that? And okay.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'm going to